Stuart gripped the cold metal fence, his heart hammered against his ribs. Behind him, the laughter and whispers of his friends faded into the night. They had dared him to take a selfie with the vampire of Blackwood Manor. He'd scoffed at first, playing the tough guy. Vampires aren't real, he'd said, his voice cracking just a little. But the dare lingered, echoing in his ears. His friends knew about his dreams of being famous. A photo, that's all it would take. Proof. He'd be an overnight sensation. Taking a deep breath, Stuart pushed open the creaking gate. The rusted hinges sang a mournful tune. The air grew instantly colder, sending a shiver down his spine. He told himself it was just his nerves, but a primal fear began to grip him. He stepped onto the overgrown path, each footfall heavy with dread. The sweet scent of decay clung to the air, thick and cloying. His hand trembled as he reached for his phone, making sure the camera app was ready. This was it, his chance. The old house loomed before him, a twisted silhouette against the moonlit sky. Its windows were dark, gaping like empty sockets. The wind howled through the trees, sounding like a chorus of screams. Stuart's breath caught in his throat. This was insane. What was he doing? He could turn back. His friends wouldn't even know. But then he imagined their faces, their smirks, the way they'd whisper behind his back. Chicken, they'd say. No, he had come this far. He would prove them wrong. He would get his picture. He just had to find the vampire. Easy, right? Except for the whole terrifying house part, and the fact that it was pitch black inside. He crept closer, his sneakers crunching on the gravel driveway. The silence was deafening, broken only by the frantic beating of his own heart. Each step felt heavier than the last, dragging him closer to the unknown. As Stuart rounded the corner of the manor, a faint light flickered in the distance. A small cottage stood nestled in the shadow of the main house, almost completely hidden by overgrown ivy. Smoke curled lazily from its chimney. Relief washed over Stuart. Someone was home. Maybe he could ask for directions, or, maybe not mention the vampire part. He approached cautiously, the sound of his own footsteps echoing in the stillness. Peeking through a dusty window, Stuart saw an old woman sitting by a crackling fire. She was hunched over, her face hidden by a thick shawl. In her lap, she cradled a sleek black cat, its emerald eyes fixed on Stuart. He tapped lightly on the door, his heart pounding in his chest. The old woman didn't move. He knocked again, louder this time. The cat's ears twitched, but the woman remained still. Gathering his courage, Stuart slowly pushed the door open. Section 4. Spiral into darkness. The interior of the cottage was small and cluttered, filled with the scent of herbs and wood smoke. A single oil lamp cast flickering shadows on the walls, but the old woman was gone. The chair where she had been sitting was empty, the fire still burning brightly in the hearth. Stuart called out, his voice echoing strangely in the empty room. "Hello, is anyone here?" There was no answer, only the crackling of the fire and the rustle of leaves outside the window. He noticed a heavy wooden door set into the far wall, partially hidden by a threadbare tapestry. Curiosity and the lure of the dare tugged at him. Taking a deep breath, Stuart moved towards the door, his hand reaching for the cold iron handle. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow spiral staircase leading down into darkness. The air grew colder, and a musty, earthy smell wafted up from the depths. Stuart hesitated, his hand hovering over the railing. This was it, no turning back now. Section 5, face to face. Step by step, Stuart descended into the darkness. The air grew thick and heavy, filled with the weight of centuries. The stone steps were slick with moisture, and he gripped the railing tightly, his knuckles turning white. The air grew colder as he descended, and a faint, rhythmic thump echoed up the stairwell. It sounded like a heartbeat, a slow, steady heartbeat. Stuart's own heart pounded in his chest, a frantic counterpoint to the rhythmic thump from below. Finally, he reached the bottom of the stairs. A single flickering torch illuminated a vast chamber, its walls lined with shelves stacked high with ancient tomes and strange artifacts. In the center of the room lay a coffin. It was carved from dark wood, its surface intricately carved with scenes of death and resurrection. The lid was slightly ajar, revealing a glimpse of crimson velvet lining, and a hand, a pale, lifeless hand resting on the edge of the coffin. Section 6, Flashes and Fangs. Stuart's blood ran cold. This was it. He had found the vampire. He raised his phone, his finger trembling over the camera button. This was his chance, his shot at fame. Just one photo. He took a step closer, the floorboards groaning under his weight. The hand in the coffin twitched. Stuart held his breath, his finger hovering over the camera button. He had to be quick. Suddenly, the figure in the coffin sat up. Its eyes snapped open, glowing red in the dim light. It was a vampire. Pale skin, sharp fangs, the whole terrifying package. Stuart screamed. He fumbled with his phone, his finger hitting the camera button repeatedly. The flash went off again and again, blinding him momentarily. But when his vision cleared, the vampire was gone, vanished, and the camera roll on his phone was empty. No photos, nothing. Section 7, A Different Kind of Courage. Stuart stumbled back, his heart racing. He tripped over a loose floorboard and fell, landing hard on his backside. He scrambled to his feet and ran, his fear lending him speed. He didn't stop running until he burst out of the cottage and into the night. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. He knew the truth now. Vampires were real, and they didn't show up in photographs. He had been a fool to think he could capture one with his phone. As he made his way home, his fear gradually gave way to a strange sense of exhilaration. He had faced his fear. He had looked into the eyes of a monster, and he had lived to tell the tale. He knew his friends wouldn't believe him, but it didn't matter. He didn't need their proof. He had his own. He had faced the impossible. And sometimes he realized the greatest act of courage wasn't capturing a monster on camera. It was walking away alive.